So hello, everyone, and welcome to the public hearing and the regular council meeting of the Village of Lytton for April 21st. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone to please turn off your videos, mute your microphones to allow council to begin the proceedings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and broadcasted on the Village of Lytton YouTube channel. If you wish to view this meeting or access a video recording of a past meeting, you can visit the Village YouTube channel and watch it there. Thank you, Your Worship. I call the meeting to order.
Thank you. I call this public hearing to order at 7:01 p.m. I want to begin by recognizing that this meeting is taking place on the unceded traditional territory of the Entlehappen people. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw, zoning amendment bylaw, temporary use permits number 777/2026, which proposes to designate all lands within the village boundaries as temporary use permit areas. Members of council may ask questions following the presentation by staff. However, the function of the council at a public hearing is to listen rather than debate the merits of the proposed bylaws. Everyone present shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard or to present written submissions respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaws. No one will be discouraged or prevented from making their views known. However, it is important that remarks be restricted to matters contained in the proposed bylaws. We will begin the public hearing with a presentation by staff. I'll now pass it to Director of Development, Carolyn Lamont, to explain the bylaw.
Close up. Here it goes. I'll just do a short presentation on zoning amendment bylaw number 777/2026. Is that Lisa? Not quite. Just sorry, there's just a technical delay.
Yeah, there's a delay.
Great.
There we go.
You go to the next slide. So for the background, and sorry, I think that's a typo before. I didn't correct. On October 28, 2025, council directed staff to explore several options as described in the October 25th interim housing strategy. One directive was to consider bylaw amendments to permit temporary use permits on residential properties to accommodate multiple RVs. Next slide. Different. So once we did that, we tried to figure out what we needed to allow temporary use permits. In 2023, the village suspended guidelines within the official community plan for what was called at that time temporary commercial and industrial permit areas. The TCIP designation was a precursor to the current temporary use or TUP, as referenced in the Local Government Act. The MAP designation, however, of the TCIPs was never recovered, and the TCIP guidelines are no longer consistent with more recent provincial legislation. So earlier this year, council rescinded that resolution and gave clarity for designation of temporary use permits through the proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 777/2026. Next slide. The designation basically takes the entire village during the rebuilding to reduce the approval times in the future. TUP approvals continue to have a notification requirements and council consideration. I feel like I'm missing a little bit of meat there. I'm not sure what happened there, but as much as the temporary use permits originally came in for the RV use, it actually is for any use. So the key to a temporary use permit is that it allows you to do for a limited time here is to change the use. So 3 months or 3 years, and you have the opportunity to do suspension or an extension for another 3 years. And it may include conditions. It could be and there's no sort of direction or tight list of what those conditions could be, but there's anything that council feels is appropriate to allow that temporary use, whether it be landscaping or certain other requirements. So basically, this allows people now to make application. We have already an established procedure to do that in our development approvals bylaw. And we, once this bylaw is adopted, we could accept those. Just for an example, is we have issued temporary use permits before up at the airport, for example, with the Lancy camp. So that's an example. And it is a short term, and the max number of years would be 6 years. So although originally this was initiated as part of the allowing temporary use permits for multiple RVs on lots, it could apply to any use. So the bylaw basically says that all lands within the municipal boundaries of the village of Lytton are designated for temporary use permits in accordance with section 492 through 497, inclusive of the Local Government Act. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. So we will now open the floor for submissions from the public present in the parish hall. And I don't believe we have anybody that wants to speak tonight. So what I'm going to do is turn it over and ask. Sorry. Please. I try to find my spot here on my script. Lisa, were there any submissions online?
Let's see here. If there's anyone that wishes to speak for the public hearing online, please use your raise hand function if you'd like to speak. I'll call for a second time. If anyone would like to speak regarding the public hearing and the zoning amendment bylaw, please raise your hand. And as you said, there was nobody here. So back to you.
Okay, so seeing, and as there's no speakers, may I please have a motion to close this public hearing? So moved. Thank you, Councillor McCann, and seconded. Councillor Toss, all those in favor? Carried. So now we will proceed to the regular council meeting. Okay, so I'm going to call the regular council meeting to order at 7:08. I need a motion, please, to adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting. Thank you, Councillor Michelle, seconded. Councillor Lightfoot, all those in favor? Carried. Now the adoption of the minutes from the April 7th meeting. Motion.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor McCann, seconded. Councillor Toss. Were there any errors or omissions? No, hearing none. All those in favor? Carried. And we move right down to public comment regarding the agenda, and I'll turn it back over to Corporate Officer Storchenko.
Thank you, Worship. So we now invite members of the public to provide comments and items related to tonight's agenda. If you would like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can find that by clicking on react at the bottom of your screen and then select raise hand. Speakers are asked to please state and spell your name, provide your address, indicate the agenda item number you're speaking to. So if anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. I'll call for a second time. If anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. I'm not seeing anyone online, Your Worship. I don't believe there's anyone here at Parish Hall, so back to you.
Okay, so we'll move right on to item number 7, staff reports and presentations, and we'll begin with CAO Marquette, capital projects update.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. Good evening, everyone. This is our monthly capital projects update with just a couple of new steps since the last time that we met. So on the community hub, we've had a couple of things happen. We did meet with the museum committee. The architects did and provided some more information to them about their space and gathered some input from them. So that's being incorporated into the design. We have received the Class C costing. We have requested some revisions to that prior to bringing that forward to council, so that should be coming forward soon. That's the sort of the Class C estimate of the overall construction of the community hub. We have had a meeting with Blue Collar Modular to look at the proposed pool and associated changing rooms and washroom facility that go with that. So we've requested some revisions, and that'll be ready soon to come back to council for some, to have a look at that and provide some input. We also have, we'll have to schedule some meetings with the project advisory committee, and we've had a request from the local health coordinators to have some input into that. So we'll be incorporating that as well. They've already had some input at the beginning of the process, which is come in so far, and then we'll bring back what we've got and see how it meets what they told us. And we have a new federal representative on our agreement monitoring committee. So kind of the lead person from the federal government. That position has changed. So I had a meeting with that person last week. So we're just starting that kind of a new relationship there, but a couple of our other colleagues that are still on the file. So on the fire hall, the one thing that's changed since the report was written is the RFP has been posted on BC Bid for an architect for the design of that facility. So it has a closing date, I believe, May the 8th. So we'll wait and see, what type of response we get from that. We also have, we talked about this a while ago, but we have now started working with a traffic engineer to look at the intersection on the highway. We had reached out to the Ministry of Transportation, and of course, they're not really interested in talking about it unless you come with a traffic study and do some of that work up front. So that's underway, and hopefully that will align with the hiring of the architect. So you'll have the answer on where the entrance needs to be. As you know, the concept plan that was submitted for the application did have a lowering way entrance and exit. So that is a possibility. That's a feasible option. We're just checking the other one as well. On the village office, the building permit has been submitted, and so that's in for review now. And we have a meeting this Thursday with the chamber to talk about the visitor center and what might be incorporated there on the main floor of the building. And then under the water upgrades, not a lot of new things on the water upgrades. We did get the final approval on the list of projects that council approved approximately a month ago, perhaps about 6 weeks ago. And so that has now been approved, and those projects are going to move forward. And then on the sewer upgrades, I don't think it's hard to see what's happening. There's some pretty big holes being dug out there and some big piles of dirt being moved around and screened. And so that project is underway. And Extreme Excavating is in town and plan to just, kind of plow through. There's no change to anything at this point. It's all going as so that's it for my opinion.
Thank you. All right, so let's put the motion forward to receive this report for information. Councillor Lightfoot, second. Sure. Councillor McCann, are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Straightforward, and all those in favor? Carried. All right, we'll move on to the next item, 7.1.2, regarding the key performance indicators.
Yeah, thank you, Maura Connor. We have a report in the package. I wasn't planning on going through all of the indicators. This was at the last meeting, we approved the annual plan and had direction to come back with the March indicators. And when I was preparing the March indicators, I realized that the December indicators hadn't come back yet. So they're in here as well. And, but a lot of these results are things we talk about all the time. It's things that are either in the monthly development report around building permits and occupy house, type of thing, or capital projects or that type of thing. But I can answer any questions anyway.
So let's put the motion forward to receive the report for information. Councillor Lightfoot, seconded Councillor Toss. Questions or comments regarding this report? Councillor Toss.
Well, I just on the Chamber of Commerce, since staff is meeting on Thursday, might be a good opportunity to just touch on the materials, because I know it's hard to get everyone together. So approaching that topic when you're meeting on Thursday. Thanks.
Yeah, good idea.
Are there any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Carried. All right, we'll move over to item 7.2. Point 1, the monthly reporting to the province regarding the contribution agreement.
I know specific.
We see this report from every month. I think we understand it pretty well. It is a two-part motion. We'll go forward. Councillor McCann, seconded. by Councillor Toss. If there are no questions or comments, all those in favor? Did you have a question?
No, I had a comment.
Oh, yeah, Councillor Lightfoot, I missed.
I just wanted to say that it gives me a sense of security. Security to see that there's quite a balance left for the work that you need to finish out.
Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. All right, moving on then to item 72222, annual property tax rate. And I'm going to ask CFO Monica.
Thank you very much. And I do have a short presentation on this. I did want to just highlight, there is an error in the table on page 2 of 3 of a report. And the 2025 amount of taxes is incorrect. I've got to correct it when we get to the table on the screen here. So you'll notice the increases in what it was. So when I looked at that, I thought something's not right, and got distracted. And then when I went back to it, I realized it was wrong. So I'm sorry about that, but we'll look at the number on the screen here. So, you know, as we all know, every year we're required to pass our property tax bylaw by May the 15th. And prior to that, we have to pass our 5-year financial plan bylaw, which is on the agenda tonight for adoption. The tax bylaw, assuming it goes first 3 readings tonight, it will come back for adoption on May the 12th, just prior to the deadline. And you know, this has all been prepared pursuant to the direction that we've already received from council in terms of a percentage increase in the tax rate, and from the initial look at the draft 5-year financial plan. So, you know, we did receive the final BC assessment roll. There were no changes from the preliminary roll that was received. I just will put this up just to kind of highlight a couple of things. When you look at the increase in the assessed value of residential property in Lytton, it's kind of important to break it out into 2 groups. So the first group is all the homes that were assessed in kind of at full value in 25 and 26. And so the increase in value of those existing properties was 7.6%. And then we had the addition of the new properties. So if you don't split them out, you have a big increase year over year, but a lot of it is just new construction. And then the same is true in the commercial class. So if you look a little further down, we have you know, the existing commercial properties assessed at 10.4%, and then the addition of some new commercial class properties for tax purposes. Maybe not, we're not really necessarily seeing the commercial here on our street. But that is, you know, there's an additional 1.2 million into that class. So the overall tax roll increased by almost just over $10 million year over year. And so then the proposed tax rates on that assessed value, this is the 14% increase that we've spoken about before. So we put the residential tax rate at 2.9980. The utilities tax rate remains the same at 40. That's a legislative limit that's in place. The major industry tax rate, which is only one taxpayer in our case, would go up to 108.4132, and the commercial tax rate up to 7.4460. And then those are the taxes that would be generated by each one of those groups of people. And so this is the schedule that has the correct 2025 taxes number in it. So I apologize. It's 378,462, not 305. This is shown in the report. So this just shows the difference between the 26 rate and the 25 rate, and then the total taxes that are collected as a result of that. So you can see that the taxes that we collect for the village of Lytton year over year is 18% more. So that's our 14% increase plus some of the additional assessment that's been added. This shows the taxes that are collected on behalf of others. And the reason why I included this here is, although we have no control over it, it's always good for council to keep in mind that our taxpayers have to pay these amounts as well. And you know, we've talked about that before. If you look at 2026 there, you know, the total rate for a residential property is 6.42. Well, 3 of that is the village, and the rest of it is collected on behalf of others. And so, you know, our school rate continues to increase, even though we continue to have additional assessment. And I did do a little bit of research into our rate, and our school district does have one of the highest rates in the province in terms of, you know, for residential assessment. Might have something to do with the remoteness and the spread outness of the district, right? It would make sense in that kind of an instance, but I haven't contacted them yet, Councillor Lytton, and I will, further to your request. I will get some more understanding of that rate, but I did just do a little bit of work to sort of see how we compared to others. Initially, I had started to prepare this slide, or in the report, I had started to prepare it with the 2021 numbers in it because I was trying to demonstrate what's happened since the fire. But unfortunately, because of the fire, I can't be sure that I've got the right rates in our records. And so I just did a year-over-year comparison, but I thought it'd be interesting to look at sort of what's happened over time, because some of these numbers have increased significantly over time. And, take something like the TNRD, which is, they don't give us a rate, they give us a dollar number, and then we have to take that dollar number and split it up across our residents. In the case of them, we know we were expecting an increase this year because we've heard that the solid waste management is going to cost more and the rates needed to go up and there needed to be more charges to cover those costs. So, that wasn't unexpected, but it is, it's a $10,000 difference on that one item year over year. So, all that is just to say that there's quite an impact overall for people with all of these increases layered on top of each other. And that's it. We'll end on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will have a motion to receive this report for information. Councillor Toss, seconded. Councillor McCann. Are there any comments or questions regarding this report?
I'm really glad to see the revised one.
Yeah.
Because I compare the 46% and everything else is really different. The twist doesn't seem like
So I apologize.
it's way better on. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, all those in favor? It's carried. Okay, now we move on to item 3, or 7.3, corporate officer, appointment of museum and archives commission.
Yes, this is just some housekeeping we have to do this with regards to our bylaw. And we've listed out here the executive and the directors that would be effective as of March 19th. So it's pretty straightforward.
Thank you. Yes, the motion is, and it's a lengthy motion, but it's great to see these volunteers step up. So who would like to put the motion forward? Councillor Lightfoot, seconded by Councillor Michelle. Are there any comments or questions regarding this? Councillor Todd?
For the commission, are they going to be, just out of curiosity, referred items from council? Is that part of their role?
I believe that,
Like, for example, if there was a heritage question or, maybe I know in Delta, that's what they do when they're community development or something.
I don't know the answer to that. It's a good question.
It'd be great if you could. Like, if we had a request, I'm thinking like the oral histories after the fire. That may be something that could be a job of the commission.
Oh, well, then that sparks another one for me.
Councillor McCann.
Yeah, speaking with John Hogan, and he's mentioned at least 4 times to me in the last week about something he's passionate about. And that is having our street signs reflect the different languages, like Tamil and Chinese and all the different languages of people that have been in this community, so that it's represented. And so maybe that again would be something that the museum, I was trying to figure out where that could go. Kind of project, but that's a cool project. It might be able to
So go back to the motion of appointing these. All those on the commission, all those in favor? And carried. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, now we move on to Director of Development, essential housing zoning and official community plan amendments.
Thank you.
Over here.
Presentation. Okay, so this is, you can probably pop to the next one. At the March 24th, 2026 council resolved to prepare the following: commence negotiations contracts with Lane 1 and South Pier to construct essential housing on 7th Street Road End, adjacent to 665 Station Road and 500 Fraser Street, respectively. Both those properties are municipally owned. And then to commence the process to close a portion of 7th Street Road End and bring forward a bylaw to rezone the site for low-density residential, and direct staff to bring forward a bylaw to rezone 500 Fraser Street to low-density residential. Staff has had meetings actually with both proponents, and we hope to bring a report back on the May 12th as far as those contracts, where we are with them. So this report really only considers items 2 and 3. Next slide. So what they are, it's a little complicated. Province has made it a bit so, with Bill 44, but so there's 3 bylaws. One is 500 Fraser Street and the new zone. So that's known as R1S, so residential 1 small lot. And that's bylaw 780. And so that creates the zone and also designates the Fraser Street. And the reason I didn't put the 7th Street in that same bylaw is it needs an OCP amendment. And it can get messy if the OCP, if there was something that went off with the OCP amendment bylaw, it could fail the 500 Fraser in there. So I just wanted to keep them separate. And then the 7th Street actually, or the 7th Street Road End has a zoning amendment bylaw, but because it's not consistent right now with the OCP, Fraser Street in the OCP is designated as residential. 7th Street Road End is not, so it's an OCP amendment. So that requires a public hearing. So next slide, or actually, yes, it does. Yes, it does. Right now, the province with Bill 44, it's the whole what needs a public hearing and doesn't need a public hearing is basically a master's thesis. So so what I want to do is go through the change to the zone. Now this is consistent with provincial legislation, and most municipalities in BC is moving to a smaller lot size. Interestingly, 464.4 square meters lot size comes from, I think it's 1911 survey of the site. It might have been before that all lots were approximately 5,000 square feet. Regardless if they're up the slope or not. Sometime later, some of the east slope had been changed or had smaller lots, but I'm assuming there wasn't zoning back then, so it didn't matter. And then more recently, there has been subdivisions of lots in half, and probably not consistent with the zoning bylaw. So we do welcome those people to come in and maybe rezone their properties to be consistent. So really the change would be going from 462 to 242 in square meters. And for, well, that's 462. And then that's what those 2 properties are now, 242 and 252. And then reducing the frontage. So I'll talk about what they're going to. So you can see that's the only area in the current residential zoning where they differ. There may be small variances. We don't know if steps encroach slightly, but we'll deal with that as the final plans go in. So you can see the coverage is way lower. So really just think you take your lot and you just shrink it down. Because when you have a 50% coverage, your coverage reflects the size of the lot. So you can't overbuild it. So in scale, it's consistent. So next slide. And so what I also did is I pulled a few other municipalities to see where they are. Whistler surprisingly is quite high at 400 square meters, but that's often because there's difficult lots. It's not flat. They have a usable site area requirement that would be lower. Penticton had 275, Campbell River 350, and Merritt 112. I also did look at Lillooet. Just a sec. And their minimum lot size is 250 square meters with a lot width of 12 meters and a coverage of 50. So totally consistent where we are. Next slide. So where we want to do is bring in these 2 zoning amendments, 500 Fraser Street and with the new R1S zone. And then the second one is to zone 7th Street with that R1S zone. And the last bylaw is to redesignate 7th Street for low density residential. And I have to go through the details of the bylaw, but really that's the highlight. Is the only difference really is on lot area and frontage. So
So this report is coming to us for information, so can we have a mover, Councillor Lightfoot, seconded Councillor McCann. Are there any questions, comments regarding?
Just I had to Google the square footage, or because I can't think in meters.
you know,
So the 250 square meters, it was 2,690 square feet. So that helped me kind of put my head around it. I also was wondering, you were saying about some lots aren't consistent now, and for folks to come forward and potentially rezone their lots. Can you explain a bit more of that? So
there's what's called, and it happens all over. There's the province. There's somehow when either their lot was subdivided, and no one noticed that they didn't conform. That happens. I think there's a couple just down on Fraser, or the ones up on the east, up and behind on the eastern slope. And they're just called legal non-conforming. There's nothing wrong with them, but say they wanted to add a suite or they wanted to do something different, it's always good to be conformed with the zoning bylaw. That's all. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about residents that, tree fire had a certain situation and now they're going to have to come forward or we will not have to, but we're encouraging for rezoning. What kind of cost would that?
Well, I think if I did get one of these, I'd come back to you and say, should we just do it?
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
But I didn't I didn't want to confuse this topic, but I also think there that awareness of people that they can come back. Yeah.
Any more questions or comments regarding this report? All those in favor? Aye. Carried. Now we move on to bylaws for readings, and there are a number of them here. The first one is regarding the annual tax rate. So the motion, of course, is to give the first, second, and third readings. And can we have a mover? Councillor Lightfoot, seconded. Councillor Michelle. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor? It's carried. And on to the next one, which is a zoning amendment, 500 Fraser Street. And this is for first and second reading. Councillor Lightfoot, seconded. Councillor Toss. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor? Carried. And moving on to the zoning amendment 7th Street. And again, this is for first and second reading and to provide a scheduled public hearing. Councillor Lightfoot, seconded by Councillor McCann. And if there are no questions or comments, all those in favor, that is carried. The official community plan amendment, 7th Street, that council give. I just did that one. So, no, first and second reading, and of course, schedule a public hearing. Moved by Councillor Michelle, seconded Councillor McCann. And if there are no questions or comments, all those in favor, carried. And we move right on to the zoning amendment bylaw for temporary housing. And that is to give third reading to this bylaw. Moved by Councillor McCann, seconded Councillor Michelle. Questions, comments, all those in favor, carried. And then on to the zoning amendment, the temporary use, zoning amendment bylaw for temporary use permits. And this is to give third reading. Councillor McCann, thank you. Seconded. Councillor Lightfoot. Questions, comments? This is all those in favor. Carried. All right. Now moving down to bylaws for adoption. And we do have a financial plan for 2026 to 2030. And this is a motion, of course, to adopt it. To move, Councillor Lightfoot. Seconded by Councillor McCann. Any questions or comments regarding that? Councillor Toss.
It'd be no surprise I'll be voting against this. I just feel it isn't fleshed out enough with enough detail for the next 5 years. as well. I've heard from the community, they would have preferred more consultation, don't feel it was adequate, so I'll just be voting against that on this round. Thank you.
There's no further comments or questions. All those in favor? Oh, sorry. Whoops. Opposed? And that is carried. And moving on to the road closure bylaw, looking to adopt this one. Motion, please. Councillor McCann.
This is the ones that we need to do the public.
This is the one.
Presentation for.
David.
In the project, I'll tell you that staff is working on all the various combinations of public meetings, public notice, public, because they all vary. And it's really hard.
And do they all need separate meetings?
And notice periods are different too. So,
Yeah. Now, I apologize, Corporate Officer Storching. So we are on to the road closure bylaw. And we're going to put the motion forward.
We would have to we have to do the public portion before we can adopt it.
Right.
So yeah, that would be great.
All right, so we do have to do this public portion, as you mentioned. So I'm going to ask the Director of Development to provide a public presentation outlining the intent and effect of this bylaw.
very brief, but I know from last time, there was some confusion on what it considers. And I just thought I'd lay it out. You can just flip to the next slide. Is everyone understands sort of the improvements of Chief Lytton Park? And so this isn't a defined survey, but there you can see the road closure, which is really just facilitating the improvements for the landscaping, and then the lane closure likewise. So just shows you, and those are the two that will close. So they'll continue to be owned by the village and be part of a more of a park environment.
So just for clarification, the red is the the red is the road closure and the blue is the lane closure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I will now invite members of the public to speak with respect to this road closure bylaw, with respect to road closure bylaw, lane number 774, 2026. If you wish to speak, please clearly state your name and address for the record. And we have no one in the hall here who wishes to speak to this. Corporate Officer Storoshenko, is there anyone online?
I'm not seeing anyone raised hands online, no.
Okay, so if are there any questions from council to staff regarding this? Councilor McCann?
I just have a comment to share that I did speak with Father Darren about this, and there was definitely confusion. Like the word lane immediately sends people out here. No one knew that space out there was a lane, right? And so it caused quite concern and they're like confused, like what, do we know where to park? And so it was, I said, no, wait a minute, this is how it looks. And this, so yeah, I think we'll have to refer to these maps frequently over the next little while, because that's not an easy concept for any of us, because it isn't apparent. You couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And no one could see that lane, and now we can't see the road either. So
Yeah.
It's on a map and nobody knows it's there. So thank you for making that clear to us, at least so we can explain.
Yeah. And scale only seems that map makes it look huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there are no further questions, I'm going to call for a motion to adopt this bylaw. Councillor Lightfoot, seconded Councillor Thomas. All those in favor, and that's carried. All right, so now we move on to verbal reports.
Raisin Street.
Yeah, that's right. So we have to do the Fraser Street. So we have the same presentation.
Yeah, it's I don't need to repeat it. Thank you.
So you have nothing further to add to that, so we're going to call for speakers, and we have nobody in the hall here to speak. And I'm wondering if there's anyone online who wishes to comment.
I don't see any raised hands, but if anyone wishes to speak, please use your raised hand.
Okay, so call for the motion, or sorry, are there any questions from council regarding this? I will now call for the motion to adopt the Fraser Street bylaw. Thank you, Councillor Chanel, seconded Councillor McCann, all those in favor. Carried. Those are done. Now I can move on to verbal reports. And I'll begin, and I have a lot to report. I've been away for the last 2 weeks. Since the last council meeting, I really have nothing to report. So I'm going to move on to the choice.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor. I also have nothing to report this week.
Councillor McCann.
You can always rely on me. Yeah, and because Meryl was away, I was at the TNRD regular and committee of the whole meetings on behalf of Meryl Connor and Kamloops last week. And there was an emergency services session. Oh, sorry. And I also attended the emergency services session for the OCP by Zoom while I was up there. I attended the New Pathways to Goal annual general meeting in Cache Creek and the community conversation for the OCP at the parish hall. So I've been really busy just putting on my Lytton shirt and being there. The TNRD sessions were really quite informative, as they always are. The delegations presenting at the committee of the whole were the RCP summary report, the emergency services report, the BC wildfire services, as well as a drought forecast. So really timely and interesting stuff to hear, and interesting to me how the RCMP frames their numbers. You got to kind of say numbers going down is a good thing, not a bad thing. It's funny to turn your head around it. Saturday the 18th, I met with the board members of the New Pathways to Gold Society. This organization, that was in Cache Creek, so I got to spend the night in Cache Creek. The organization is refocusing the society direction now for future projects, and they will be working with our community with the finishing up of the Chiefs Fenland Park, and they're going to continue to be involved in the Alexander Bridge project. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that, but that's a pretty pricey little number they're working on there. And then we also have the Caribou Wagon Trail as one of their major projects. So basically they focus on projects that go from Yale to Barkerville. And that's and so the Caribou Wagon Trail is that main item that they work with. So that's how the Alexander Bridge fits in. That's how we kind of fit in. And their main project is that trail itself and making it a hikeable, bikeable kind of a trail and getting different communities along the route to engage and own that piece of the pie. It's a really interesting project to work with, and kind of fun to watch them reorganize themselves and try and be a little more relevant. So there you go.
Thank you, Councillor Michelle. Nothing to resolve. And Councillor Lightfoot.
A few things. I myself didn't participate in the cemetery cleanup this year, but the Two Rivers group, Councillor McCann being main motivator in that organization, and the Scouts came up from Aldergrove.
It came up from North Van, from Maple Ridge, from Haney, and from Kamloops.
So they helped quite a bit, and they also helped doing some fire smart activities around the community the day prior. So on the 15th, we had a fire smart committee meeting, and we're basically planning for the May 6th fire smart event, which will be at the battlefield from 10 till 2. It's a little different focus than it has been historically. They're trying to get in different organizations that can show some of their products and some of their activities. So it's been normal. I also attended the OCP meetings on the 16th and the 20th, and
I think that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, well, that brings us to the end of the regular meeting. We're going to be moving into closed meeting to discuss items under 91A, C, and G. And so can I please have a motion to move into closed meeting? Councillor Lightfoot, seconded. Councillor Michelle, all those in favor? Carried. And I'm going to turn it back over to Corporate Officer Storchenko. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Connor. So that concludes the public portion of the regular council meeting for April 26th. We ask that the members of the public and staff exit the meeting as council proceeds to closed. Thank you for joining us this evening. I now invite council to take a short recess while I prepare the meeting to close.